Hello, everyone, and I am making good on my promise of bringing you the most important episodes before the season 4 premiere, which is in 2 weeks. And I am so excited for it. But I still have 2 more things to review before that happens. Today, I'm reviewing The Crystal Empire, which is... Hooray! I'm actually fulfilling a promise for this! I'm so excited, and I know that you are too, so let's just go right ahead and get started. Alright, so we start this episode off with kind of an interesting cliffhanger, I guess. The first thing we see is one of Celestia's guards showing up and being like, "It has returned," which is the most ominous sentence I've heard from someone in this show so far. Very, very ominous. So we get a flash forward to Twilight getting prepared to go to Canterlot because apparently she needs to take a test that Celestia has issued for her. And Twilight, being Twilight, is absolutely stressed. So stressed, in fact, that when Spike says it's just a test, she makes her house come out of the ground and float in the air for a second. I can only imagine how much turmoil the library looked after that. Books were everywhere. Everyone who was inside of there with her sprawled on the ground like, ugh. It's a really good thing that Spike had put on that helmet and pillows, or else he probably would have been hurt a lot more, considering he was the one that Twilight was expressing her anger to. Okay, so we get a flash forward to Twilight showing up in Canterlot, ready to all prepare to take a test. But we find out that Twilight's test is to help her brother and Princess Cadance, who come back, thank you, because if they had just been the one-shot characters, I would have been so angry, who are up north in a place called the Crystal Empire, which has been put under a curse for 1,000 years by an evil king who had ruled the Crystal Empire before Princess Celestia and Princess Luna showed up and tried to stop it. And when he was defeated by them, he put the empire under a curse, and it's back after 1,000 years for some reason. Of course, there have been multiple theories about that, but I will talk about that later. So, we go into our first song of Season 3, which has a really epic score, I should say. It just rises and drops, and I love the fact that Twilight apparently has exceedingly great mathematical skills when she recited off that number. That was just like, oh god, she could do better on math than Stephen Hawking can. Because she's honestly smart. She is smart. It's ridiculous. But that song was great, and we head up north to the Crystal Empire, where we see Shining Armor dressed up in his most Star Wars outfit ever. It's good. I love it. It reminds me of Star Wars. You just look at it and it's like Star Wars all over the place. Where we meet this episode's main villain, King Sombra, who has been turned into a shadow. Honestly, this villain, out of all the villains, even out of all the minor villains like Trixie and Gilda, King Sombra is one of the least explored and least charactered character. That sounds ridiculous, but you know what I mean. In the entire series. He honestly doesn't have much of a purpose other than to be a small opposing force, and has only been given maybe 4 or 5 lines of dialogue throughout the entire 2-part episode, which is very weak compared to other villains that we've seen. So, after Shining Armor gets his horn crystallized by the shadow that is Sombra, we find out that the Crystal Empire needs to be saved. Well, we already knew that. We find out that the Crystal Ponies need to be in terror. The Crystal Empire is beautiful. Cadance is setting up a shield around the Crystal Empire to keep it safe from King Sombra. But her magic is running low, so the main 6 need to find a way to save the Crystal Empire by making it safe again, because obviously it had its own worry of protecting itself back forever ago, but it doesn't now. So the first thing that they do is interrogate the crystal ponies, who aren't exactly crystal-y at the moment. We get some usual shenanigans, gags, Pinkie Pie wearing a Fluttershy suit, which was so funny, so very funny. And we find out that, well, there's a library that they can go to try and find a book talking about the history of the Crystal Empire. And when they eventually find it, we find out that the Crystal Empire used to protect itself by holding an annual Crystal Fair, which they used to lift the spirits of love and unity of the Crystal Ponies. And the fair centerpiece is the Crystal Heart. At first, the fair is going very well. All the ponies are getting happy again. They're not crystal-y yet, but they're happy. And it's obvious because all their colors are brighter and their hair is less droopy. But then we find out that the Crystal Heart that they were supposed to find, that Twilight had apparently made out of a crystal block. Oh, I forgot to mention the other song, which isn't as good as the first one, but it's still okay. But Twilight and her friends find out that the Crystal Heart that they had used as the fair centerpiece is actually a relic that they need to find. And since Twilight was told by Celestia she has to do this all on her own, she decides to go it alone. And but takes Spike with her because Spike says that he won't help her at all. He just wants to be there for her, which is great. He is such a great friend to Twilight, which is just great. I'm so happy about that. So, as they start going through, Twilight remembers what Princess Celestia had told her about the Crystal Empire. That when love and unity is spread throughout the Empire, it shines all over Equestria. But when fear and anger take over, then the crystals are black and evil, and Twilight realizes that King Sombra's castle wouldn't have looked like it did then because of the fact that it was all nice and pretty. King Sombra was evil. It wouldn't look evil. So she somehow knows how to use the dark magic that Celestia showed her once and uses it to open up a cavern that goes down some stairs. A lot of stairs. It was dang a long drop. So Twilight finally reaches the bottom and opens up a door using the dark magic. But when she does this and goes through, she's back in Canterlot. And back in Canterlot, Celestia told her she failed and that she doesn't want her to be her student anymore. And it is, honestly, you never see Celestia this angry. The only time I've seen Celestia that angry was when she was battling Chrysalis, and that is impressive. Well, battling Chrysalis now, in the beginning of the Discord episodes, because she was very angry at Discord. But it was so stern. But then we go back to the Crystal Empire, and apparently the door that Twilight had opened up lets you see your worst fear and manifest it in front of you, which is honestly some of the creepiest stuff I've ever heard of. And I can only imagine what might happen if I had looked through that door. It probably would have been horrible. And I bet everyone else has thought about this at one point. What would I see through that door if I had opened it? Of course, we find out that Spike, apparently, is extremely distressed by the idea that Twilight could kick him out. That is very interesting because of the fact that, if you think about it, technically to Spike, Twilight is kind of like his mom. I mean, he was born out of an egg that Twilight had hatched, and has lived with Twilight ever since he was born. The only logical assumption would be that Spike kind of considers Twilight, never saying it though, as his mother, because she was the person who has raised him his entire life. So she's kind of like his mom. Which is adorable, but Spike would never say anything about that, and I doubt Twilight would ever admit it. So, we used the love and unity magic to open the door and reveal a very large pillar with many, many stairs. Back outside, we find out that Cadence's magic is really starting to diminish, and the shield is coming out down, and Sombra is slowly making his way back in, because his horn got sliced right off when the shield had come down earlier, and Cadence put it back up. But the crystal horn that was on his head had started to go into the ground and seep through it, and everything was really, really bad. because then dark crystals started forming around everything else. So we go back to Twilight when apparently she is tired because there was a lot of stairs. So many stairs. Evil, horrible stairs. So she uses a gravity spell, which she uses to turn gravity around for her and Spike, which is very impressive. And I have to think, how exactly long did it take for Twilight? How long did between Twilight showing up in Canterlot and her getting the letter saying she had to take a test there? How long was that? Because she apparently practiced this gravity spell for the test, and all of a sudden, and I mean, short amount of time, that's a very complicated sounding spell. So she finally makes it to the top and discovers the crystal heart, but just in time to see that Cadence's magic is completely gone, and all of Crystal Empire is starting to be taken over by Sombra again. So when she tries to grab the crystal heart, she manages to throw it out of the circle right before an entire black crystal dome goes over Twilight. Well, she tries to teleport out of it, but it doesn't work because the magic just sucks her back in. So she realizes that she can't do it. She can't do this all on her own. So she asks Spike to take the crystal heart down to Princess Cadance so that she can help the crystal ponies power it up. This, of course, leads to Spike announcing to the entire city, I found the crystal hearts! And then Sombra noticing, and Shining Armor noticing, and Shining Armor javelining his wife at Spike in the crystal heart after Spike falls over off the conveniently placed slide thing that started to pillar its way up the tower. Well, the moment that Cadance grabs the crystal heart with her magic and takes it down to the crystal ponies, telling them that they need to light it up with their love and unity just like they used to. And they do it. And all the ponies turn crystal again. And even the main six, Shining Armor, Cadance, Spike, and Twilight, turn into crystals. And Sombra gets exploded. Which is really weird, considering most villains in shows like this would not die. That's very ominous, because you see him exploding. You see him breaking into pieces and parts of him flying away from the Empire. That is extremely distressing. I mean, the only other villain who had a similar fate has to be Nightmare Moon, considering, sort of counting the comics, that Nightmare Moon's power was a different force than Princess Luna, and it took over Princess Luna, and Princess Luna was sort of like a consciousness in the back of the mind of Nightmare Moon, and Nightmare Moon got obliterated and Princess Luna came back, and it's like Nightmare Moon was a shell that Princess Luna was inside of, and it got peeled away. So that essentially counts as death, I guess. But yeah, that's some pretty dark stuff. I mean, you see his horn flying away. It's because he exploded, which is weird. Very, very weird. Anyway, we find out that Twilight learning the value of self-sacrifice is honestly more important than having to do the entire thing by yourself, which is great, because that is a fantastic lesson for anyone to learn, that you can't be selfish in your goals, and sometimes you need to let other people help you even when you don't want them to, which is a fantastic lesson. I think everyone should learn that lesson once in their life. We get a reprise of the first song from the beginning of the episode, and Rarity starts us off. I love some of the lines. Like, my favorite is when Rainbow Dash is like, since when does Twilight Sparkle ever fail? I'm just like, that is a line, and I'm going to repeat that line in my head forever because I love it. Anyway, so the episode wraps up with us seeing Princess Celestia and Luna standing on the balcony looking over of Equestria as Twilight and her friends leave on the train. And Luna brings out a book. Now, some people who first see the episode might dismiss this as just some random book for no reason. It has nothing to do with the rest of the series. This is a kid's show. What could they possibly be planning? But no! It is the most important book in all of the show! It is so important! And when I found out about the book, I'm like, book? And later on, I will talk about this more in next week's video. Book, I'm just like, this show is not for little girls. Because no matter how many times I watch it, I'm just like, how does this translate to little girls? I'm sorry, but Sombra exploded. There's plot lines all over the place. Continuity is everywhere. This show is not for little girls. Because no matter every single other little girl show I've seen has never had this much plot. There's just so much plot. I'm sorry if this sounds horrible, but it's all over the place. Just plot is everywhere. Plot and continuity and inside jokes and moments that kids might not get because they're too young to understand some kinds of humor. I'm not saying there's anything disgusting, but there's like adult humor. Not gross adult humor, like serious adult humor. It's like kids can't get this kind of stuff. I mean, even from the bat, when this show was starting off as a kid show before Bronies and stuff, the show was way more than a kid show. Even from the first couple episodes, it was just more. It was just so much more. And I love that they're doing this. Honestly, every single time I'm doing this video, I always go back to this show is not for children. This show is for everyone else. I always go back to that single thought. And I love that every single time I do a video, I can go back to that. It makes me feel so good on the inside. I'm feeling like, yes, this show wins, and no other show wins. Okay, so, yes, there was something I wanted to talk about. Well, see, I was talking about how Sombra, Cadance, that sort of thing. I have seen so many theories talking about, oh my god, Cadance is the Crystal Princess? That must mean she's like Sombra's daughter or something. No, God, that's just stupid. Why would Sombra be Cadance's father? It's just because Shining Armor looked like someone from Star Wars for 5 seconds doesn't mean that this entire show can be summed up. This entire episode cannot be summed up by one Star Wars thing. Okay, no. Sombra is not Cadance's father. No, that's not how it's gonna work. Although I do believe that Cadance has some sort of connection to the Crystal Empire. Again, I have to go back to Inkrose's theory on the history of Equestria, and they're brilliant. They're really good. I mean, she takes a lot of plot holes in this show and just fills them up with knowledge that makes so much sense. I love her theory about what Cadance has to do with the Crystal Empire, and even ties in with the book by Cindy Morrow, Twilight Sparkle and the Crystal Heart Spell. It even ties in with Cadance's backstory from that book, which is really great. And I have to recommend all of you check out all of Inkrose's videos about the history of Equestria. Another thing, she's also done 2 videos so far talking about the main 6's parents. She's talked about Applejack's parents and Rainbow Dash's parents, which are good. I love her theories. They're very accurate sounding and realistic. They're not ridiculous. Like, some people think that Star Swirl, the bearded, is Discord. No. That's not cool. Okay? That's not cool. For this, I refer to I Love Kim Possible a lot's videos about how Star Swirl is not Discord. That's not true. There's no way. You can't tell now, but I'm shaking my head back and forth. No. Okay, so I guess that's all I have to say about the Crystal Empire. Please check out I Love Kim Possible a lot and Inkrose. They both have very good videos. Inkrose talks about the history of Equestria brilliantly, and I Love Kim Possible a lot has a lot of videos about Discord, which is awesome because she loves Discord very, very much. Okay, so the Season 3 premiere. Out of all the season premieres so far, I have to say that Season 2 is my favorite because John de Lancie. I mean, you can't get any better than John de Lancie. I love Star Trek, and I love Star Trek TNG. Freaking John de Lancie, just all over the place. I mean, I know he's not just in Star Trek TNG, but that's where I'm at right now. I'm only at Star Trek TNG. So it's just like, John de Lancie as Q was brilliant, and then he shows up and he's on his Discord. It's just like, what? No! Oh my god! It's John de Lancie! I can't help but love the Season 2 premiere so much more than the other two. I mean, I like them. But the season 2 premiere is my favorite out of all three. Okay, next week is the last week before the season 4 premiere. I wanted to say this. I honestly would have loved to have just done like a blind commentary video for the season 4 premiere. But I'm having a big party not a big party, I'm having a small party with a couple of my friends because not only does MLP season 4 premiere on November 23rd, it's also the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, and me, as a Whovian, have decided that me and my two Brony and Whovian friends are going to have a party at my house and watch the episodes as soon as they come on. So, I'll probably do maybe some blind commentary videos for other episodes of MLP, if I don't get blocked or anything. But, I mean, it's a good idea, because I'm not going to be able to review analysis every single episode, although I'm planning on doing that for most episodes of season 1 through 3. Although I'm pretty sure that most of those episodes I'm going to do something like compilation videos where I take a couple of episodes that have stuff to do with each other. Kind of like how I did Discord's episodes all 3 together and all the episodes talking about the gala together. So I'll do stuff like that. Because I don't want to have to do every single episode, plus all the episodes that are coming out soon. That's just a lot. That's just a lot. So, next week, here we go. It's the last episode I'm reviewing before season 4. Season 3 finale, Magical Mystery Cure. Alright. And of course, I will be doing an Equestria Girls video eventually, like when I find the time, because I'm going to be too busy doing season 4 stuff after this next episode. Who knows, maybe I'll start doing 2 episodes a week at some point so that I can get out more stuff. Well, this is Phantom Rose 15 signing off. See you next week when I review Magical Mystery Cure.